Welcome back. Well, we move on to this discussion now. Head of the Special Investigating Unit, Advocate Andy Mothibi, told the Standing Committee on Public Accounts in Parliament that the agency has referred over 3,000 matters to the National Prosecuting Authority for consideration in the past 5 years. He was presenting the unit's state of affairs before Scopa alongside the NPA as well as the Hawks. The three units briefed to MPs on the period between April 2020 and the 1st of May 2025 on challenges they face that lead to discrepancies in a number of those issues leading to prosecution. We are joined now by Scopa chairperson Songezo Zibi to give us his view, really, on what we heard from these key anti-corruption bodies. It comes at such a critical time, Chair, as there has been quite a bit of criticism that is being at this moment leveled at the National Prosecuting Authority and how it is able to handle some high-profile cases. But this data really telling, I say 3,000, but to leave out the other 374 is a big thing, right? 3,374 criminal matters referred to the NPA between 2020 April and May this year. What do you make of just how big that number is? I think that's a really great place to start. The referrals, is it too big of a backlog for the NPA to handle, or could we be seeing more?
Good evening, Naledi, and thanks very much for having me. So it's not 3,300 and some odd matters, but referrals. And those referrals are individuals and juristic persons, which often are companies or entities. So during the course of a single investigation, the the Special Investigating Unit may refer any number of people or entities. So that is what makes up the 3,300. The referrals get forwarded to the Hawks because it is the Hawks that do the investigating. So yes, the SIU does not hand over a docket to the NPA. It hands over a body of evidence that must be turned into a docket through witness statements and other forms of proof to reach beyond a reasonable doubt. That's then forwarded to the NPA once it is ready. So that's the reason we had all three of them together in one room, because we wanted to ascertain where the bottlenecks are. But still, over 3,300 individuals and entities being referred is a staggering number.
And then, of course, you heard from Major General Makian of the Hawks telling Scopa that they're managing 355 dockets arising from SIU referrals. I think you've got 72 cases having resulted in verdicts, 96 settled out of court, 201 still under investigation. So just talk to me about that follow through. 72 cases resulting in guilty verdicts. Surely that concerning and really speaking to the very bottlenecks that you're talking about.
Yes, I think we're very deeply concerned by the committee with that statistic, and we wanted to understand where the bottleneck is. So one of the first things that we were told, most important or notable things that we were told yesterday, was that the Hawks are operating at 50% capacity. They have 49% of the approved posts in their org structure being vacant. They are going to be allowed to hire an additional 500 people. But what that means in practice is that each investigator has an enormous caseload by themselves. So it's important that we fill those posts. So firstly, the investigations take a staggeringly long time. Because remember, the Hawks don't also just deal with SIU matters. They also deal with murders, with drug dealing, and so on. So a single investigator might be dealing with any number of issues. The second thing that we were told, which was also alarming, is that, for instance, in its management or structures, there are only two chartered accountants right across the SAPS. Now, that's worrying when you're investigating commercial crimes, right? Very complicated commercial crimes. So that's a concern. I can go on and on. So what we wanted to arrive at is a systemic intervention that is not just going to look at this SIU only or the Hawks only or just the NPA, because the NPA has to get a very strong docket to turn into a winnable case. So we have to look at the whole system, and that's what we did yesterday.
Yeah, just if you will, talk to me about the sort of work that would be done by Scopa then to follow up on progress and some of the recommendations that would come forward. Of course, Scopa being urged to continue some of its oversight regarding some of these high-profile matters. So what is the next step for Scopa?
So we intend to invite the Minister of Police and the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development to come through, because resourcing is a major issue. It truly is. And I don't think we must tell South Africans that it is not. It is. The police services is overwhelmed. The detective services and the Hawks are overwhelmed. People need new skills, digital skills. For instance, the days of cops showing up at an office and leave with reams and reams of files are gone. People need the ability to crack into phones, to access files, to access phone calls, phone call records, and that kind of thing, which are digital skills that are not part of the traditional police or prosecutor training and so on. So we are going to invite them to get an understanding or ask questions about what the plan is to turn around the resourcing situation so that cases can be investigated faster, tried faster, and we get convictions faster.
1 billion rand spent on the state capture inquiry, Chair. And one of the things that you heard was that the Hawks had been slow with some of their investigations, the unit only investigating 4 cases emanating from the State Capture Commission. I mean, that sends a very disarming picture to the South African public. What do you make of that?
No, that's not accurate. So we had invited the Hawks and the NPA to talk to the committee about the SIU referrals. Those 4 cases are only the 4 cases that emanated from the Zondo Commission, but were also investigated by the SIU. The Investigative Directorate Against Corruption at the NPA actually has 50 cases emanating from the Zondo Commission, not 4. And I think about 12 or 13 of them, if I might be incorrect, are already in court. Others are in the final stages of investigation and so on. So 4 isn't correct.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I do want to look at a few other issues. Of course, we did hear of the intention now by authorities to reapply for the extradition of the Gupta brothers. Talk to us about if you're confident around whether or not we're going to see that process showing us some results.
The UAE does not want to extradite anybody accused of these kind of crimes. It's not just South Africa. South Africans need to reckon with that. There is a reason the Guptas went to the UAE. They knew they wouldn't come back.
That's not very confidence building. Could I ask you, if you would, Chair, to perhaps take off your hat as Chair of Scopa and put on your hat as leader of Rise Mzansi, a few political parties that have come out to... Yes, so we appreciate you actually, symbolizing the taking off of the hat. You've got a few political parties that have said it's time for us to see the removal of Shamila Batohi, the likes of Action SA. As Rise Mzansi, not as Scopa Chair, your position?
No, look, I first of all, a term is coming to an end soon. So I'm not certain what purpose that would serve. There is a bigger challenge at the NPA, by the way, which nobody talks about. So Advocate Shamila Batohi's term comes to an end, and the advocate, de Kock, unfortunately passed away, but he was close to retirement. And if I remember correctly, one of the other deputy national directors of public prosecutions are also close to retirement anyway. So it is time for significant change at the NPA due to those factors. I think one of the things we must appreciate, I'm extremely frustrated by the fact that we see people committing offenses overseas. They get investigated, they get tried, they get sentenced, they finish their sentences, and we haven't even brought people to trial here. I'm extremely frustrated with that. But we must also not be naive about the kind of challenges that I've just placed on the table.
Yeah.
It is not excuse making. police are overwhelmed and under-resourced, and we rely on the police to investigate commercial crimes. We have to resource our police. We have to resource our police. Even in the committee, when we asked whether the NPA needs more money, Advocate Shamila Batoyi said that money should go to the Hawks. That should tell you something.
Does that mean that, I suppose if I just stick with it and take advantage of this moment, that there is some confidence in her ability to continue to work in the remaining period as NDPP?
No, the confidence is in the entire, the lack of confidence for me is in the entire system. Again, you know, you can work with the cases that you get, firstly. Secondly, we have to also recognize that if the weaknesses are right across the system at the NPA, the NDPP does not make prosecutorial decisions. The law does not allow them to do that. They can't pick prosecutors. They can't interfere in investigations and so on. The NDPP is a reviewing mechanism. There are systemic issues at the NPA, but there are systemic issues at the Hawks as well. We have to, as South Africans, learn and accept that we must look at things systematically. We cannot continue like this, where we only look at one part of the problem and we ignore a significant part of the problem. You never find a solution that way, ever.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We really do appreciate the chat. Songezo Zibi there, Scopa chair, and towards the tail end there, speaking to us as leader of Rise Mzansi.